hitting the button. Welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight. I'm Judith Kova, and today I'm here with Shai Danon. His website is ahava528.com. He also has a wonderful YouTube channel with the same name. And we are going to bury an internet myth that is popping up time and again, and that is Israel has banned 5G. So without further ado, Shai, welcome to Night Flight.
Hi, thank you. I hope we have a good flight. And yes, well, obviously, to say it bluntly, it's just a lie. It's total bullshit. I mean, Israel has 5G, has been deploying 5G for some time now, and will continue to do so, as far as I understand, for for at least 1 more year or 2 more years or whatever. I can say that when someone thinks that there's no 5G, we need to understand what is 5G. And at least in Israel, I mean, I can say some things about other countries as well. But if I look at Israel, I'm looking at 3 different, let's say, pillars that they are the foundation for 5G. One pillar is the LED streetlights, which is an infrastructure not just for the LED streetlights, but for cameras, probably with face recognition software like we see in China and other places. And already we have, in some places we have them in Israel. I mean, now they're using it to trace dogs. This is serious. This was what published in the newspaper, that they use the software recognition, the face recognition software, to find out which dog poo in which street in order to find the owner. And in that way, they're preparing the ground to use the facial recognition software on humans, on people, obviously. But this is already here. So the first one is the LED streetlights, which on top of them we will have the cameras, we will have the 5G microcells, and whatever device that can go on top this already existing pole with electricity inside it. So it's very comfortable to deploy microcells or 5G beamforming antennas, which, as we are told, which is not necessarily true. That's why I'm emphasizing. As we are told, they have a very limited way of penetrating. So we need to deploy them or to spread them 100 meters apart, more or less. This is what we are told. It's not necessarily the truth, but this is what we are told. That's why it's very convenient for the industry to use the streetlights, whether they are LED streetlights, whether they are old style streetlights. Still, they have the electricity and it's an existing pole, very easy to use. You don't need to build or to spend more money on building new antennas or new masts. So this is one pillar of the 5G, which is the LED streetlights or the streetlights. The second pillar for 5G deployment is what we call, it's for municipal use. So it's to run a smart city. So obviously, some of it is already on the streetlights, but I'm talking about cameras and microcells on traffic lights, on buildings, that to be used for municipal use. For example, if you go and throw your bin, you throw your garbage, and you throw the wrong thing at the wrong bin, you can be fined immediately. And this is to do with devices or sensors or cameras that are actually fitted onto the bins, onto the product that you just throw. And this is part of the Internet of Things, the IoT. So for that, we have, I mean, it's also combined with the LED streetlights and the devices that go on the streetlights, but it's like a different system, which is for municipal use, all right? Which is for traffic jams, for, for parking spaces, for recycling garbage, for fining people for whatever they do, etc., etc. So this is the second pillar. The third pillar, it's what we get is about that, which is for telecommunication. to improve the communication and the downloading faster and faster movies, etc. This is still in Israel, is not here yet, all right? So the third pillar is being delayed. But actually, it's not just in Israel, because if you think about it, do you see any 5G mobile phones? No, they're not out yet. So there's no need, at least at the moment, for some sort of infrastructure for this third pillar, which is the telecommunication. Now, the way I understand it, it's a big hoax. I mean, even if we will have 5G smartphones and 5G or very fast millimeter wave download, etc., it's somewhere there in the future, because the real aim is to deploy this 5G, the way I understand it, it's a weapon system, to deploy it as soon as possible, as how it's called, like to make a blanket coverage on all the places possible, including rural areas, okay? Not just in cities, but also outside in villages and outside in the nature, in farmland, etc. And then when you cover everything, basically, I don't think you really need the third pillar, the telecommunication, because the first two will already give you what the 5G was intended to do or to be, which is partly the Internet of Things. But more, even before that, it's to control all human activities, not just devices and things, but actual human activities, whether it's shopping, whether it's stuff we are doing at home, stuff we are doing at work, stuff we are doing in the street, etc., etc. So 5G is already here in Israel for some time now. Not all the pillars, but the first two are being promoted, I would say, at least 4 years. But in the last 1 year or so, we really see fast-growing LED streetlights infrastructure, as well as the municipal use devices or antennas that they are being fitted in many places all across Israel. So all those who think that Israel doesn't have 5G, sorry to disappoint you guys, but Israel has 5G, and the Israel government, I would say, as part of a big collection of governments which work under, whether it's the UN, whether it's the Crown, whether it's the Cabal, it doesn't matter now what name we give them, but the bankers and the royal elite, Israel is part of it, the same like America is part of it, and Canada, and England, and Germany, as well as many, many other countries. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And yes, it's deploying this sort of weapon system against its people. We are not secluded because it's Israel, you know, because we are Jewish, because whatever. This is just false ideas and false rumors. Israel is using this sort of stuff against its people big time, and I have more to say about it, like Wi-Fi in schools. People think there's no Wi-Fi in schools. In Israel, there's a rumor that came out on the internet that there's no Wi-Fi in Israeli schools. It's false.
As I told you, I watched a short video from InfoWars. I didn't watch all of it. I couldn't. And yeah, because they were promoting that Israel has banned 5G after inventing it. They also said that Brussels has banned 5G. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah,
and then there was that the guest that he had on said that Israel is 100% fiber optics.
I wish. I wish. You can just come to Israel, travel wherever you want with a radiation detector, and you tell me if Israel is all fiber optics. You know, this is so wrong. I mean, some places do get fiber optics, but very specific places for very specific uses. Most of Israel, again, out of the industry bottom line, which is cost, you know, basically cost and agenda, not just cost. Israel has loads of Wi-Fi, loads of antennas, loads of radiation. There's many sick people in Israel, and it's not going to go away in the near future because that's the agenda. And we are part of it. I mean, maybe some Israeli companies are part of creating the agenda and promoting it in order to sell more. But the Israeli people, whoever lives in Israel, by the way, it's Jews, Arabs, Christians, Druze, Bedouins, you know, what have you, whoever is here is under the influence of big time radiation, a lot of antennas, very strong, high level radiation, although we are promised by the fake experts of the government that it's under the limit, it's under the standard, but we all know the standard is, again, it's another lie of the industry. The standard got nothing to do with protecting us from the health dangers or health effects of Wi-Fi and radiation in general. So doesn't matter now if it's under the limit, above the limit, it's harmful wherever you go. And I think, no, sorry, I know that most of the harm is actually being done to the kids in schools. Kids in schools, they're not aware of it. Obviously, parents are being kept ignorant. Had how you call it, headmasters, you know, of the school, the primary schools and the high schools, they are also ignorant about the dangers of Wi-Fi and the antennas on the roofs. Hospitals, they have a lot of Wi-Fi and all these devices and a lot of antennas. You know, just so you know, in a nearby place where I live, like two neighboring villages, let's say. So in the next village, there's an antenna, and the village is getting, in euros, is getting something like 35,000 euros a year for having this antenna in its land, you know? So, and this is the system. I mean, we all know that. You see it in churches all over Europe, that behind the cross, there's an antenna, and it's hidden, and it's, you know, so, or instead of a tree in the street or around the city, around towns, you see hidden antennas, and obviously not so hidden antennas. But Israel has a lot of Wi-Fi, a lot of radiation. It has 5G, and the level or the percentage of sick people, especially with chronic illnesses like cancer, autoimmune diseases, etc., it's just on the rise. It's going up and up and up. And I think Israel is leading now the cancer rates in compared to Europe. All right. So I don't know if it's number one in the world, but really high levels of cancer. I mean, the number one cause of death in Israel is cancer. Number two is heart disease. Number three is infectious diseases.
Okay. So what about the claim that Israel has invented 5G? And okay, we have established Israel is not banning 5G, but the narrative usually is, oh, first they invented it and now they ban it in their country. So
yeah, just to correct, it's not that Israel is not banning 5G. Israel is promoting 5G big time, and I'm one of the activists who are trying to prevent it, postpone it, you know, make the action to push back this technology where most of the population is ignorant, you know, because they are glued to their TV screen. Now, regarding Israel has developed 5G, I can say something like that. When you look at things from outside of Israel, doesn't matter where you are, in America, in Germany, in Saudi Arabia, it doesn't matter. You see Israel as one unit. And you think, for that example, Shai is part of Israel. Shai also developed 5G. So all of Israel is one unit, and Israel has been developing 5G, spreading it all over the world, but it doesn't irradiate its people. Again, it's false, it's a lie. Whoever is saying that has no big F,
Yeah.
clue what he's talking about. Now, yes, some obviously high-tech companies which are either based in Israel, owned by Israeli shareholders, but not only. The companies nowadays can be owned by several other corporations. But yes, some Israeli companies like Qualcomm, and there's obviously some others, they've been heavily involved in developing software, hardware, of whether it's weapon system like technology to be used in civil areas um, against us as well, under the, I would say, under the mask of telecommunication. They've been developing also some other technologies like Waze, you know. Waze was developed in Israel and it's being used all over the world. You can say Israel developed Waze? No. A company, an Israeli company, developed Waze, and now this company has a lot of shareholders and stocks from all over the world. So we need to remember that. There's a board, there's a CEO, there's a board of shareholders. They take decisions. Still, it's not to diminish or minimize the involvement of Israeli companies, again, not Israel as a state necessarily, but Israeli companies in developing such technologies. Now, we know also that Israel as a state, now I emphasize, now different, Israel as a state has been involved in weapons, developing weapons for many decades, all sorts of weapons. The old school weapons like guns, machine guns, and a lot, but also obviously as time progressed, Israel has been involved also in developing very advanced technological weapons, all right? It can be lasers, it can be microwave weapons, also, again, all sorts of weapons. I'm not an expert on this, so but I just know it as a general thing. It's true. England was doing the same. America, the same. China, the same. Germany, the same, okay? As a nation, or not nation, but as countries or states, many countries have been involved in developing weapons. But regarding 5G, at least to my knowledge, Israel as a state, Israeli people, again, it doesn't matter now if Jews, Arabs, Christians, what have you, we're not involved in developing these sort of things, but some companies, obviously, heavily involved in developing these sort of technologies. But to say it's Israel, I think, well, if you don't do your homework properly, and it doesn't matter if it's Alex Jones, or it doesn't matter what the name, you should do your homework, especially if you are broadcasting it and you have, you know, audience of hundreds of thousands or millions. You have some sort of responsibility. And if you make mistake, it's okay. You can say you're sorry, you take it back, it's okay. But
Yeah,
if
but
this
that usually
mistake
does not happen.
exactly, but also sometimes mistakes are not mistakes. They are done deliberately in order to make a point. And I'm saying if this is out there, this sort of information, just to make a point that Israel is the baddie, I don't say Israel is not a baddie as a state,
Yeah,
but just to
to a
clarify.
certain degree, we are in our leaderships. Let's call it that.
Exactly,
It's all the
the
same gang. They're all bad.
absolutely, absolutely. The enemy is not Israel. The enemy is governments. Government, you know, it's to control the mind, and the whole system is 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 hijacked. You know, the whole system is rogue, is hijacked, and we are now suffering from it because we were kept quiet for so long, hoping that the system will take care of itself, hoping that we're doing the right thing and the prime minister is good or it's better than the last one. But we see that it's fake. The game is already sold, um, and we need to do something about it. Still, just to make a point there, Israeli companies, yes, some of them has been involved heavily in developing these sort of technologies that also are being used in 5G. The manufacturers, they are in China, they may be in Turkey, they may be in Bulgaria, but mostly in China, as we know. Um, and obviously some American companies, British companies, and from other countries, just companies, they want to make money. They have shareholders. They need to show profit at the end of the month or the quarter or the year. So they are doing what they're doing in order to do that. Morally, maybe they're doing some wrong things, but corporations, by definition, they don't deal with moral. They deal with profit. Regardless of what crimes are being done, it's a legal, by the way, it's a legal definition that a corporation has to make profit, whatever I don't remember exactly the phrasing, but the corporation has to make profit regardless of the price it's paying, or someone else is paying. So we see it in all over the world, really. And again, just to make a point, at the same time that some Israeli companies developing these sort of things, it's being deployed on the people of Israel as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and that's the story that oh, they are not going to use it against their own people.
Right.
That is such nonsense.
It is nonsense. If it was true, I would invite you and many other friends from around the world to come and stay here, come and live here, run away from this. But we in Israel, we have nowhere to run to. We are being attacked like you, like so many people nowadays. We are being attacked by these sort of weapon systems.
Yeah. And I would highly recommend for the audience that if you hear claims like that, please Google it yourself. At least do that. It is not enough to just grab the first headline that fits your narrative and show it to the audience, and then that is it. Always, always try to research it yourself, and you will see tons of articles that show you that Israel is rolling out 5G and Brussels as well. So
and also, by the way, Judith, also Switzerland, it was published a couple of weeks ago that one or more of the cantons in Switzerland, they banned 5G. Now you have to read the small print. Yeah, but still, it's not true. You read the small print, and what they're talking about, it's only about putting new antennas, new masts, new poles, whereas they can still put new microcells or 5G and new antennas on existing poles. So it's not to stop the infrastructure or to stop the deployment of 5G. You read the small print and you understand it's just a minor blip there along the way, but it's still going on also in Switzerland.
Yeah. So we know that
it's tricky times, definitely.
We know that the military is using millimeter waves for crowd control, meaning those waves, they heat up your skin, and then the crowd disperses. So in short, because 5G is dealing with millimeter waves, in short, we have a weapon system then on the street.
Well, hang on a second. I come back in a second because the cat wants to go out. 1 minute.
Okay. So the cat is in and we are continuing. So, what else is to be said about this weapon system of 5G?
Well, I think it's a good time in this discussion to mention that I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physicist. I don't have expertise in weapon systems, microwaves, lasers, optical devices, etc. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert on the effects of radiation on the human body or living organisms, etc. So this is what I'm not. What I am, apart from being a man, human, whatever, I'm very curious and I'm autodidact. So I learn a lot of things myself. I'm involved in this type of information of the hidden nature of reality since 12 years now or so. And in the last year, I was exposed to the 5G agenda. So I learned quite a lot about it. And I interviewed, as you probably know, dozens and dozens of people and experts and researchers and doctors and scientists, etc. Just to name few, is Barry Trower, is Mark Steele, is Jerry Flynn, is Dr. Martin Paul, and many more, really. Lena Poo, like you also interviewed, and many more. And while interviewing them and while reading a lot of papers, documents, you learn. I just had to learn. And I've given a lot of talks and some lectures, but also I met with something like 10 councils in Israel. I spoke with the mayor or the deputy mayor. I met with my council. I gave a lecture here. I met with where I live, in the village where I live. So trying to warn and educate them, because there's a lot of disinformation, misinformation that the council level is given about what 5G is, about what the streetlights, the LED streetlights, what they are really for. You know, they are not going to save us money, that's for sure. Although that's what we are being told, or at least at the level of the council. So I was trying to educate them unsuccessfully, because they all think that the information, the data that they are given from the government offices, meaning the communication office, the health office, the environment office, they think this is truth, this is like God's living words, you know, and we should follow this. They don't want to see what is not included in this type of information that they are getting, which is what is being labeled, not necessarily it's true, but it's being labeled as conspiracy theories. Actually, the more time progress, we see how reality is meeting actually the conspiracy. So it becomes less and less of a theory and more and more and more of a reality, which we know it's true. And it just takes time. I hope it will take faster for more people to understand that this is what's happening, although it's tricky because there's a lot of information wars nowadays on TV and also in the alternative arena. But to go back to your question, so this was just to say who I am, you know, and I'm not an expert, but still I have brain. I like to be free. I like to be independent. I like to think for myself and to cross information and to find out as much as I can. I make mistakes also, obviously, along the way, but to learn as much as I can what is true and try and put this out to the people to try and wake them up as much as I can. So if I go back now to your question about the 5G and the millimeter wave is part of 5G. Yeah. And using the millimeter waves, yes, it's been used for decades in army as a weapon, as a soft weapon. It's not like a gun. It's not, I shoot you with a microwave, you don't fall dead now, but you will run away. You will feel it probably, especially if it's something like active denial, or it's nicknamed the growler, like Barry Trower is saying. And this device or this weapon is using roughly 92, 93 gigahertz or gigahertz. Whereas now, millimeter waves are considered to be from roughly, let's say, 24 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz. So whether they'll deploy up to 75 gigahertz and they will tell me, no, but the active denial as a weapon is only 92 gigahertz, I don't care. A, I don't believe them. And B, I know it's very easy. When you use 75 gigahertz, it's not a big difference to use now 90 gigahertz. Anyway, from information and proper data, confirmed data. Hello, lovely. She's moving.
Come here. You always want to be on the show. Now show us your pretty face.
Of course, you should interview him. It's him or her.
Okay, that's a girl.
Girl. So seeing what it's been used for, and if I follow and quote Barry Trower, they've been using the active denial system against North Ireland, you know, and against demonstrations of Irish people in British embassies in Ireland, etc. So they've been using it, they've been testing it, they know what it's doing. And there are 3 documents coming out from, all of them are from somewhere in the 70s, naming and pointing to the harmful effects of millimeter waves specifically. One document is from the Navy, the US Navy. The other document is from the CIA. And the other document is actually coming from Russia. Now, those who did most of the experiments with this, well, with microwave frequencies in general, are actually the Russian people. I mean, it all started in the Second World War by the German army, but then it continued much more, even before that, not just after the Second World War, even before that, it continued with the USSR, with in Russia, what was the USSR. And there they found out a lot of interesting things regarding the effect of microwaves, regarding the effect of millimeter waves, regarding the effects of very low doses of microwave. I mean, we don't need a lot of power, but long-term exposure, when it's pulsating, can cause a lot of harm, even with very minimal power. And this is, for example, this is Wi-Fi in schools. It's not a lot of power, but it's 8 hours a day, more or less, pulsating, very small power, 2.4 gigahertz, which is, again, as far as I learned, as far as I know, specifically targeting the ovaries and the eggs in girls, and also the sperm in boys. Now, let's say 10 years now, we have Wi-Fi in our homes and more or less the same amount in schools. See the productivity rates, see the percentage, how we dropped in fertility, okay? Not just in Israel. Every country, every Western country who deployed or allowed Wi-Fi in schools and in houses, see what happened to the fertility rates. Now, you can say that the fertility rates dropped down because of food, because of spraying, because of glyphosate, because, yes, there's many factors, but you cannot ignore what governments are ignoring and the industry are pushing the governments to ignore, which is the harmful effects of Wi-Fi, and most people are ignorant about it. We can look at France and take a good example from France, because France was the first country to allow Wi-Fi in schools, in primary schools and high schools. The first country in the world to put Wi-Fi in schools thinking it's all right. France is also the first country to remove Wi-Fi from schools. Now, maybe it's not all over France, but as far as I know, it is, because they were aware of the harmful effects of Wi-Fi. So they were the first ones to put Wi-Fi in schools and the first ones to remove Wi-Fi from schools. I think everyone should look at what France is doing in that regard and copy-paste what they're doing, if we want to look after the next generation, obviously.
I just watched a talk given by Greg Braden about human origin and the story that we are telling ourselves. And in that talk, he described that, you know, in certain countries, it is legal to marry a robot. And even some parents have an AI children. So, and it shows that whenever the society is going down that road, having AI children as a substitute for their own children and going for a robot partner, that the fertility rate goes down immediately.
Well,
So,
it makes sense, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, that's besides the fact that the robot is working on Wi-Fi and transmitting radiation all around him, or it, not him, not her, it's it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. But even before the robot and the AI, just normal radiation, Wi-Fi routers, smartphones, not just smartphones, just normal phones, the 3G, the 4G, what have you, It's a lot of radiation. We were not and still are not being told properly about the harmful effects of that radiation. And it's a shame because we are actually cutting with our own hands the branch that we are sitting on. And this is, besides the fact it's stupid, it's just pure stupidity, it's also, it's not just me sitting on this branch, it's also my son and his children and their children. So by sitting on this branch thinking I'm only harming myself, no, I'm not. It's not like eating, like sugary foods, and I'm the only one who processing this food now, and I'm the only one that get hurt. No, it's, I'm hurting everyone along the lineage of, my tree. So basically, again, if I follow Barry Trower words, within 3 generations, we won't have babies, or we will have only deformed babies. And that's beside the 50% miscarriages of people who are exposed to Wi-Fi. I'll tell you something. I mentioned it in one, whether it was one interview I conducted or just one of my presentations, but I will tell you something. My wife and I, we lived here not so far away in a different house, and we were trying to, get pregnant. Right. So first, after 7 weeks, there was a miscarriage. All right. The second time, after 12 weeks, miscarriage. Third time, after 5 weeks or so. I don't remember exactly but that's more or less the time scale. Again, miscarriage. So he said, all right, probably it's me, it's her, you go to a doctor or what have you, and then you go to a specialized doctor that helps you with these sort of things. So my wife took hormones, and she took hormones, and then she got pregnant. Miscarriage after 10 weeks or 9 weeks or so. Again, more hormones, pregnancy, miscarriage. Maybe 5 or 6 times miscarriages. All right. Then we said, like, consulting the doctor, he said, all right, you go for, I forgot the name in English, but it's not IVF. It's taking my sperm and injecting it into her womb or into her egg, inside her, not outside in a lab. Forgot the name. So basically, we did that. She got pregnant. Miscarriage after a few weeks, again. So we're talking now 6, 7 times, and this is within a year and a half or 2 years. No, 2 years, about 2 years, all right? So again, miscarriage. Then the second time of taking my sperm and putting it into her, succeeded. So she was pregnant. On the 26th week, so this is 6th month, all right? 3 months prematurely, 26th week, the water broke, and we were rushed to the hospital, and she stayed there 10 days because there was a hole in the, forgot the name in English, but the bag, the bag that the fetus is sitting in. There was a hole and the water broke, all right? So she stayed there 10 days. And then, because all the time, the womb, the mother is all the time making more and more water for the womb. So she made, but the water broke. She made, the water broke. And after 10 days, she said, all right, cesarean. The doctor said, we need to go to cesarean. So my son, he's now 5.5, nearly 6 years old, healthy, and all is good, thank God. So he was born in a cesarean on the 27th week. All right. At that time, this was roughly 6 years ago, all right? I didn't know everything I know now about radiation, all right? And about 5 months ago, no, almost a year ago, I read Jerry Flynn's book. Do you know Jerry Flynn's book, The Hidden Dangers?
I didn't read it.
Can I just bring it so you see?
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Hang on a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so that's the book. Okay, Hidden Dangers. And Jerry Flynn is from Canada. He's an ex-electronic warfare specialist. Okay, and he's actually a colleague of Barry Trower. They know each other way, way back. All right. I mean, I was recommended by Barry Trower to approach Jerry, and I also interviewed him. And in this book, this book came out this year. You see, I have even in his own handwriting, he sent me copies. And so in this book, it came out in 2018, not so long ago. You know, it's really new book. And in this book, he's mentioning, I don't think I'll find it now, he's mentioning a research that was done on women, pregnancy, and exposure to Wi-Fi and radiation. Now, I don't find it here because I put some notes in it to mark it. Ah, here. Okay, maybe I will find it, and it's worth it. Hang on a second. Basically, what they found is that women, when they are pregnant, or even before they are pregnant, and they are exposed to Wi-Fi or electromagnetic fields, the rate, it is, I put a lot of little signs here for myself, you know, and I've done some presentations with this as well. No, not this. All right, I can't find it now. I don't want it to take too long. Hang on a second. No. All right, I'll just say it without. Okay, first of all, I mean, it's not about
you
that.
know, when you need it, it's always there. Oh, you found it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's not this, but wait. Frequencies from about 700 megahertz to 1000 megahertz interact most efficiently with human tissue to yield the greatest energy absorption. All right? And this is, it's a proper research. Here, US military scientists said, microwave energy in the range 1 to 5 gigahertz, a military important range, penetrates all organ systems of the body and thus puts all organ systems at risk. Effects on the central nervous system are considered very important. Frequencies from 700 to 1000 megahertz, what I read here, interact most efficiently with human tissues. Now, I don't find what I was looking for with the pregnant women, so basically I'll just say it. It's about 50% of women who are exposed to Wi-Fi or radiation will have a miscarriage within the first 10 weeks of pregnancy. Those who stay pregnant, from them, something like 25% will have a premature baby, a preemie, you know. So I was reading this, you know, my son was born 6 years ago about, and I didn't know everything I know now. And this I was reading like almost a year ago or so. And I read this and I'm like, wow, hang on, because maybe 150 meters from where I've lived back then, there's a huge antenna, the antenna that they got paid 35,000 euros a year. This antenna is there. And I was thinking, hang on. Now, I didn't have Wi-Fi because that I'm slightly sensitive, so I don't like all these devices next to me. But then I put one and one together, and I'm like, is it possible that all these miscarriages and the premature birth that my wife experienced are to do with an antenna? Now, it's not a causal link, you know, maybe not, but probably yes. And I don't need the research to tell me this because this book is full of information about these things, and obviously it's not the only book on this subject. And what people are not aware of, there's so many things to say about this subject, Judith, and you never know where to enter this subject from. But basically, what most people are not aware of is the harmful effect of even a very low energy exposure, as long as it's for a long term and it's pulsating, there is a lot of damages, acute damages and chronic damages. You know, if a child is sitting day in, day out in the same classroom with the same Wi-Fi, 8 hours a day, damages will occur. Maybe they won't occur in 1 week or 1 month or 1 year, but they will be there. And the damages mostly are actually being done to the eggs inside the little girls, because unlike men, men produce sperm. Women or girls, let's say, they are born with a certain amount of eggs and they release every month 1 egg. Now, when these eggs, even when the girl was in her mother's womb and the mother was exposed to Wi-Fi, there was already a fetus there, and let's say it was a girl, she already had the information, the mitochondrial information, the genetic information of the eggs inside the fetus. Already the damage is occurring within, the womb. And then when the girl is being exposed in schools and her eggs have been exposed to radiation since birth or since before birth, since conceiving, we're talking about a lot of damages to the eggs and a lot of defects, birth defects, within the third generation. And this is what we start to see now. I mean, a lot of the chronic illnesses are to do with that. There's a lot of damage, there's numerous studies about that. Again, a lot of these studies coming from Russia. And it's mind-boggling. If you're naive, which obviously you are not, but if the lay person, is naive, he thinks, well, it's a coincidence. But we already know that these things are not happen, but they don't happen by chance or by coincidence. They are planned. They could choose not to pulsate the microwave radiation. They could choose to do a fiber cables, the optic cables, in order at least to reduce the Wi-Fi exposure, the radiation exposure in the air. You can still have antennas, but from one antenna to another antenna, you can throw a cable, etc. So we can at least minimize the number of antennas, the number of health effects, etc. But this is not how the industry works. And as we know, the industry is really heavily linked to the military. I mean, the military industrial complex is alive, kicking big time for at least 100 years now, at least 100 years. And it's all being funded by, to me, it's really bad people, Doesn't matter even what their names or what their organizations they belong to. They're really bad people because they just want to control the population. They want to make money and they don't care about our health or about our life.
Yeah.
And it's a shame.
And talking about the regular people, so what is the reaction in Israel when you present your work, your information, and you talk to people? How do they react? Are you a nut job or?
First of all, yes, of course. But obviously it's not black and white. There's gray, a lot of gray. And also on the time scale, I mean, if I started my work back, I mean, I learned a lot before, but let's say I started to publish stuff in 2009. And that was about the swine flu, the summer of 2009, You remind me of my wife. She has a cat disturbing her, but she doesn't move her, No. The cat is here, there's a reason, let's see. So, so when I publish information about the swine flu, saying it's a hoax, saying the actual virus was produced in a lab where they developed also the vaccines and they did it as a problem reaction solution. And we see this now with the corona, a similar but much larger scale phenomena and more complex and more weaponized stuff. But basically, when I did that, most of the people thought I'm a nut job. He's hallucinating, he's a conspiracy theorist, he's whatever. As time, after a year and a half after, even in one of the main newspapers in Israel, it was published, swine flu was a hoax, and the stuff that I was saying a year and a half before that was even published in the main newspapers. But most people didn't remember that I spoke about it, etc. So along the years, things that I've been publishing, a lot of them already happened. a lot of them did come to reality. Stuff that I was writing back in 2009, people were opening Facebook groups upon this material and these publications. Nowadays, if I take the last year when I produced a lot of information in Hebrew, also in English, but a lot of information in Hebrew regarding 5G. So at first it was like, what is he on about? What 5G? There's no 5G. There's some lights here and that's it. Now, as time progresses, people see that there's a lot of truth in what I was publishing in the last year. Mm. And what I can tell you that what I get in the last 1 month, couple of months also before the corona, but especially 1 month, is that they see how the LED streetlights around their house starting to come up, you know? And they see how there's new cameras and there's new antennas and they're sending me pictures and they're asking me, is this 5G? Is this 5G? Is this 5G? And I'm like, listen, the main problem, and I tell you this, Judith, not just to the people of Israel, but to everyone, the main, not problem, but the main blockage, okay, the main block for most people to act, yes, it's obviously information. You need to learn some of the material, but you don't need to be a scientist. You don't need to be a physicist. You don't need to be a doctor. You don't need to. Forget about it. You don't need to.
In fact, it can be detrimental because, you know, some of the so-called experts that they present to you are giving you the wrong information.
I know, it's true. It's absolutely true. And we know this. And these experts mostly coming from the industry or from government offices. Not only, but, you know, most of them. But, you know, the main block of people, surprisingly, is a psychological block, is to present information that will make other people see them as different. They don't like to be ridiculed. They don't like to be different. They like to conform. And when you come and present alternative information or alternative story to the paradigm, to what is going on in TV and in the councils and the government and what everyone is talking about, you come and present a different type of information, immediately you are excluded from the conversation. Nobody wants to talk with you anymore. Most people, they are afraid of that. So they prefer to keep their mouth shut. Now, the main issue of this type of what we are facing with now is because people don't speak up. People don't stand up on their own ground. And they don't say what they want and what they don't want, because they think it's false to do that, because then they won't be liked. They will be different and they will be excluded from this group or the other group. Now, some of us, me, you, Lena, Mark, as well as many others, we don't care what people think of us. We do what we see is right to do. Our moral conscience is very aligned with truth, and we know that what we are doing is actually very important. The majority of people, they don't see it that way still. Maybe they will never see it. It doesn't matter, because we cannot not do what we do. You know what I mean? Because we feel the urge, we feel the need and the call to do these sort of things. And I bet, you know, I don't know you. I just tell the viewers, I don't know you, but I bet that all your life, everybody went there, you went a bit there, you know? Yeah. And this is true for everyone that is dealing with this sort of information, not just from now, from the corona. I'm talking years back, when it was really difficult to produce and to put out this sort of information. Most people, like me, you, David Icke, for example, you see how he was ridiculed when he just started, you know? So nobody really liked to be in this position, but some very, I would say, unique people with specific character, you know, and specific qualities, not to say good or bad, just different, they can do this work. They have the brain capacity to do it. They don't care, they're not bothered but by what people may think of them because of what they say, because of how they present it. And this is how most, by the way, this is how scientific breakthrough are happening, by people who are going against the norm, against the paradigm, scientists who are brave enough to go against the flow, you know, like a salmon fish. When I start the lectures I give lectures about biohacking, you know, how to stay healthy in this sort of environment. And you need, in short, you need three basic, to let's say, to align yourself with three basic laws of physics. First is, what's your light environment? What light environment you live in. Second is, what your water environment, in the body and outside of the body. And third is, what's your electromagnetic field environment, the field you live in, all right? So when you make, align yourself with these three, again, three pillars, you know, you make sure your light environment is good, is healthy, the water environment is good and healthy, and the electromagnetic field is good, you can handle a lot of other things as well, all right? So when I start lectures about that subject, I say to the people who come that they are like salmon fish, because whoever is coming just to listen is already, it's funny, I'll say he's a freak, you know, because he's off mainstream, you know, because he's coming to my lecture. So it means his brain is already wired in a different way to be interested in that. And what salmon fish is doing is swimming against the current, against the flow. And how he's doing that? He's doing, by the way, he's defying gravitation. I mean, he's jumping upstream, not downstream. And now he's doing that. He's waiting under the water. He's looking at the spiral, all right, the swirling of the water. And he's finding what I would say, what's his name? Wilhelm Reich was found many years ago. He found the salmon fish is looking at the spiraling water, and he finds the exact moment and the exact place to enter this spiral, and this spiral lift him upstream. So, and there's no effort in doing so. That's his nature. That's
only
what he's
dead
good
fish
at.
swim with the current.
What?
Dead fish swim with the current.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so I'm just saying that's his nature. I mean, you don't need to put an effort in order to be different and to think differently. It's just who you are. It's your nature. Same for me, same for him or her. And it looks like we all have this quality. Some of us need to develop it more. And nowadays, it's really crucial that we develop it, because obviously there's a lot of lies, fake news, but a lot of lies and disinformation in the mainstream media. And this is just propaganda to brainwash the most of the population about whatever agenda they want. Now, you know, now they say that it's so silly. I can't even describe how silly it is. And it's so transparent for those of us who know a bit, at least, of the agenda. Because now they say that the paper, the money, the fiat money,
I read that.
you can get coronavirus from paper. So how about we go cashless? Oh, surprisingly, we have a plan to do a cashless society. Let's do one-on-one together, because it happened to be just a coincidence. There's a virus that goes on the notes, on the money. So let's move to cashless society. And surprisingly, we already prepared the applications and the blockchain, and we already have the chips, because you don't want to go around with plastics all the time and all these cards and all this. So you better put a chip. And anyway, in a chip, we can know how much vaccinations you have, how much money you have, and if you use too much electricity in the wrong time, we can cut your electricity. And basically, we can cut your life if we want to. And this is where we're heading. And most of the people, they just see what's under their nose. They don't look further. And like I was saying in one broadcast I did, we Normal people, let's say you have a company, so you think, or you make a business plan, you think 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years max, okay, in advance. These guys, they plan 50 years, 100 years in advance. They are trying to make sure that their offsprings will stay in control for years to come. Think of it like a king. It's not like, it's actually behind the scenes, it's still the royal families, but think of it as a king who would like to leave to his son or to his uh, um, whatever, son's daughter, prince, whatever, princess, would like to leave them more. He would like to leave them the gratification that they will be king or queen one day, and they will control this land, and they will control these people, and they will rule over all this land and, you know, nature and housing and property, etc. This is what they are doing. They are making sure that we will have less and their offsprings will have more. We will be submissive, under control, and their offsprings, they can do whatever they want. And we know, I don't know how deep you went into the rabbit hole, but whoever went deep said probably, this is slightly too deep now for me, because the stuff that is happening in the depth of the evil stuff that they are doing is not even worth mentioning. And trust me, I've been there, I've researched it. I chose for years now not even to speak about it. But when you understand what they are busy in behind the scenes, this is like pure evil. Now what we see on the surface, it's like a game to them, you know? The radiation, the coronavirus, the cashless society, these are just for the mainstream, you know, to make them afraid and to maneuver them like sheeple, you know, into the new smart city, which is like a prison, basically. But really, their plans is for 50, 100 years to come. No wonder the plan is Agenda 21, the 21st century, let's say, or Agenda 2030, up to 10 years, doesn't matter now. That's their goal, to keep control, not to lose the grip on humanity, and to have as much control as possible on all planet resources, and on the way, to destroy life as we know it, unfortunately.
And another thing, if you go and put your face out there, you have to grow a little bit of a thick skin. So, for instance, I'm very protective towards my guests. If somebody comes along and makes a comment like, he's a shill, and that's the entire comment, no proof whatsoever, just a stupid statement, that comment is gone and you are blocked forever. If you comment something like that, I expect you to bring proof, hardcore proof. If you fail to do that, go away. The other day, somebody said about Lina Poo that she is not an expert and she is talking out of her ass. Yeah, okay, you had your 1 minute of fame. Now your fucking comment is gone and you are blocked. End of story.
Exactly.
Don't be shy. Don't let people shit all over your comment section. Block people. End of story. That has nothing to do with, oh, you are against free speech. No, I'm not. But if there is a difference between talking shit and criticizing.
Totally agree. And I do the same, just to say. I mean, in the past, I used to answer people. I thought they are genuine. They really want to learn. They want to debate. But the more you go into this, you understand that some people are actually paid trolls. Some people are just stupid and they don't want to learn. They want to stay ignorant, which is fine. But if you're insulting while being ignorant, and if you don't have respect to the research or to another human being, then sorry, guy, you go to another channel. You go to disturb someone else. I have, I can, with a click of a button, I can just bugger off, you know. This is not the place for this. You want discussion? This is the place. You want to insult? You go find some other objective, you know, not here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you know, just don't let people trample all over you and over
Yeah.
your channel and over your comment section. You have to be a little bit rigid. And
Well, you know, being an Israeli, I'm a bit abrupt anyway, so I can handle a lot of these situations. And trust me, the thing is, I don't see on YouTube, yes, but on Facebook, I get so many notifications in a day. I don't even see them, you know, I don't go through them and like I did in the past. Now it's like there's so much of it, so I don't even see them. So many times I don't know if somebody wrote something which I'm supposed to delete or block or whatever. But when I see something like that, immediately I can ask him, are you for real or what? You know, I can actually ask him. And according to the answer, I know if he's, and I go and check his profile, you know, to see who he is, etc. So I'm just doing that as well. But nowadays, I don't waste energy on these things and these people. I just block them because, sorry, guy, you want to learn? That's the place. You want to just to criticize, you know, go somewhere else because either you work for the industry or you want to work for the industry, but that's not a place for people like you. Sorry.
yeah,
We
or
don't
you,
have time also. We don't have time to waste on you, you know? So,
yeah,
sorry.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm so happy that I found your channel, that I stumbled on it, and I had to have you on. And
Thank you.
and yeah, I find it wonderful that there is another human being in Israel doing the same work. I will have next week. I will have a young gentleman from India. Because you know there is not a lot of information about India, what is going on there with the awakening process and so on and so forth. So yeah, finding researchers like that and presenting them and showing their work and what they are doing, I find at this point in the game that is really essential. It's important, and it's good that we have this technology that we can share that.
As long as it's safe, you know, everything here, everything is wired. I don't have radiation
Mm.
around me. You know, I'm still
Mm.
walking. I walk with a phone like
Mhm.
that, with a, you know, I have a radiation detector. I'm sitting, there's hardly any radiation, you know, like
Mm.
almost none. Most of the time, there's nothing here. Less than 0.0005 microwatt, you know, so really low. Sometimes it goes to 0.005, you know, but it's still very low. So I'm trying to protect myself and my family. And regarding what you said, you know, I wanna make a point because the other day I did a broadcast in Hebrew on Facebook, and I was telling Israelis that it doesn't make sense that from, let's say, 8 million people, let's say 2 million adults, let's say, and 2 million people are connected, maybe more, 3 million connected to Facebook. Let's say 2 million adults. From all of them, only Shai is making videos, interviews, putting out information about 5G, Agenda 21. And I'm not doing it from yesterday. I'm doing it for many years, very persistent with what I'm doing. And really bringing on, especially in the last year, it's like I shift gear because I realize reality is shifting gear. I need to correlate with that regarding the 5G. Definitely, if it's a weapon system, you know. So I bring on a lot of interviews, a lot of experts to speak about these things because I'm not an expert, and I'm saying, A, it's one way for me to learn from these people, and B, is to share their expertise. I mean, another channel that will do that, and another one will give them more stage because obviously they don't get the stage in the mainstream media or most of the alternative media. So to do that, it's really important. And I was kind of pissed off with Israelis because it doesn't make sense that I'm the only one doing it. It
Mm.
just doesn't make sense.
Mm.
And and that's to say the least. You know, in Hebrew it sounds much better, and especially if you curse when you say that. But not to say that I did curse, but still it sounds better.
Mm.
And I'm like, where are you? I mean, where are you? Why you don't put yourself up in video or in a post, or you interview something, or you suggesting that you will translate some interviews that I do? You know, I'm the only data or information provider. No, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, there's more reasons to it, but also it's the reason I named before. It's what people may think of me. Yeah, I think this is what blocks most people from doing. Yeah, some people don't like the on video, don't like writing, don't like, okay, each one is slightly different, it's allowed. Still, most people don't like to be thought of as different. But what I emphasized is that we don't have time to fiddle with these silly notions, you know, in our head. And most people are carrying this stuff with them since they are kids. And we been there, done that. We are past that point. Time is really short, really, really short now. And we need to act, not just to learn the material, not just to pick the data and spread it. We need to actually act. And in order for us to act, yes, we need to learn before. But again, you don't need to be an expert. You need to just connect few dots and, you know, act your brain again, clear the fluoride, clear the radiation, drink some pure water, clear your body from all the garbage you've been collecting for many years, and try to start to think for yourself and act, because time is of the essence.
Yeah.
Really, time is really short now.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful final words, Shai. I thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this conversation, and yeah, I will definitely have you back if you're willing to.
Thank you for the opportunity. You know, I mean, it doesn't happen a lot that people would like to interview me. Mostly, I'm the one that producing the information and bringing on a lot of guests. And I think it's good, especially in the angle that we started from, the 5G in Israel, and Israel has been making 5G, and you know, to make these things, to clarify these things, because many people get it wrong, and it's good. You know, it's like I get some comments on my YouTube channel saying, "Oh, it's so good. There's finally a proper Israeli," or something like that. And I'm like, instead of taking it as a compliment, that's an insult. I mean, it just shows what's your pattern of thinking about a whole nation because of stories you heard, whatever, in the news, in school, in books, whatever. It doesn't work that way. Sorry, guys, it's not black and white, you know? And when I get a comment like that, I'm like, this is wrong. Look at yourself in the mirror and see what's wrong with the way you wrote it. Because it's like saying, I'm the only proper guy in Israel, and the rest of the 7,999,000 are actually bad people. It doesn't work like that, you know? Sorry, it doesn't work like that. You should grow up and know your, know your stuff.
And now a German has interviewed you. Oh!
No, that's fine. I interviewed also few Germans, so it's all right.
Harald Kautzweller, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. I've
He,
done few with
he
him
actually
already.
was the first guy that I ever interviewed.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we have good connection, even outside of the interviews. You know, we have good connection, good relationship. We same wavelength. You know, we are on the same wavelength, so it's good. Like if I interview him, so we speak 1 hour in an interview, but actually off interview we speak longer. You know, it's like that.
Behind the scenes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Shai, I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you so much for coming. And
you too. Thank you very much. And good luck with your channel and with all the information you put out. And have a great guests and interviews. And I wish you all the best. And God bless us all.
Okay, thank you. This is Night Flight for today. Stay safe and sound. Take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.